Welcome to Costello Port. Today's home office tour. I'm always changing this stuff around. Always little tweaks and adjustments. Always different tasks and projects that I can share with you that maybe it inspires you. Maybe you get something out of it. Maybe you learn something you didn't know. I'm just going to show you what all these different typical days look like for me. And I laugh at that inside because there is no typical day for me. I have a routine, I have a schedule. I'll be working 9 to 5 pretty soon. But for the time being, I do all of my efforts from a home office and from mobile offices. I've shown you many of them before. Let's dive in. Let's just see what we got going on here. I've got 2 different rooms where things are happening. So we're working on Google Photos here. Let's get a better view. Both Google Photos and iPhotos are my primary storage for videos and photos that I take. It's really easy. They sync up. My Mac devices all sync. Or should I call them Apple devices? Here we got some copyright-free music. I'll list the track in the description. So I had it up here. What do we got here? Oh, the Roku. The Roku. So I don't know if you know, but you can stream YouTube. See? If you have a smart TV, which all of them basically are now. Let's see here. I've got my own playlists, my own YouTube channel connected with my own individual playlists. I have not figured out how to separate those. I think I have to do different accounts. So you see I've started to assemble a list of copyright-free things. That way I can put things in my videos. This is the one that we're on. And I don't get flagged for it. They have AI algorithms. If you try to do that anyways, you're just gonna get nailed. And you'll get restrictions. You can even get your account shut down. Okay. Over here it's kind of a part of my work, and I know that sounds abstract, but it is. My altar and my worship. So the chair is there, and what I'll do is I'll sit in the chair, cross-legged. I'll usually put a yoga mat down, and I'll sit, I'll do my prayers, I'll reflect on God and Guru and do my own spiritual practice. And I also have these here from my yoga teacher training. They're visualization cards, and they're all about the chakras. In my company, Chakra Tree Yoga, it would be very silly of me to not be really into the chakras, right? So if you consider me to be a master of anything, it's going to be that. We have a nice coconut here. It's a representation of the ego and many other things, but that's what I use it as. It's an offering. I constantly offer my ego. I surrender. Eventually, once it gathers enough of my negative energy that I want to get rid of, I'll go and I'll crack the coconut open and dash it into nature. I think it's still March, right? Those calendars are not from this year, they're just for art. But I'll put them on the month that I'm on, if that makes sense. It's got basic lists. I found that I really need to have lists everywhere, but I don't want it to be annoying, and I don't want it to mess up the aesthetics. You know, I'm not overly obsessed with aesthetics. You know, I'm a guy, I don't know how to say it any other way. I'm more practical. So that's something I need to do with a website. It's something that's a priority. That's the 9 to 5 mission I'm on. As you can see, I tried Shields and Kowalski's. Hit a dead end with those. And then time-sensitive things, just so that I don't have to think about it, you know? It's a huge weight. Here's more on the chakras. Same visualizations. This is from my teacher and from Integrative Yoga Therapy. That's where I was certified. Now, what do we got going on in here? We got a couple different projects happening. Of course, we got our sand tray table over there. And on the note of sand tray therapy, I'm currently sand play and spiritual direction. Alexander, that's a friend of mine that I had mentioned. He has the website Quadrados, and he came up with a reinterpretation of the four Gospels, and he calls his company Quadrados, quadrados.org. So, a long story short, and going over here to show you, he's really the one that inspired me to do this, because when I was a child, he was already certified as a psychologist in sand play therapy from the person who created it, no doubt. And I will always have just been fascinated with it. So he would have you create scenes, he would take notes, he would diagnose it, and he would tell my mother. He wouldn't tell me, or I don't even know if he said anything. It was more of a just letting me do it was the therapy. There wasn't any explanation. I know that you can, but I was young, so I think as an adult they might treat him differently. But what are you going to tell a kid, you know? Oh, this means this and this means that. Kid's like, what are you talking about? I'm just playing with stuff in sand, man. Come on. So I also draw in sand, and that's what these are. As you can see, if I lift this off, just to keep the dust out. And so that's sideways, but it's Shiva in Sanskrit. You know, I'll just draw whatever I feel like, but mostly I draw Sanskrit in there. I don't know why, I just really like it. That's all for Datta Dasa Akasha Ashram, which is way in the future. But it's an entire board because I need to have it organized. Those are all the articles I'm working on. Amazing people in ordinary circumstances. There's about 18 on there. I'm a little behind. But you know what? I like that. I would rather have 18 that I need to work on than nobody allowing me or asking me to write about them. And so that's Shiva, right? That's what I was writing in the sand. You know, it's a common mantra. This is just clipboards for spiritual stuff. Oh, I didn't really explain, but this whiteboard is just my businesses. So it has got a breakdown of basic things. EIN plus bank account. Well, I already finished that, and that was for Zenwood. It keeps me on track. I really don't know how to say it any other way, but as you can see, list. Those are all dreams in the middle. And then that's like a generic list of things that all need to happen. Right? So I've got, you know, like a key chart that I'm working on, social media, businesses, school, therapy, certifications, general admin, I just call that tasks, investing, more admin. Again, if I don't have it up there, forget it. Here's got our other workstation. We got a little mini Super Nintendo. I know that's for CDs and DVDs. Totally outdated. Old laptop. It's just a go-between. I like to have multiple devices. So usually what I'll do here is, you know, I'm just screw around or back up some stuff. You know, plug in a backup drive or put it on Google Drive and go online and you know, have something going for a long period of time. That way it's not clogging up other devices that maybe I want to work on actively. They call it multitasking, but that's not exactly what it is. Oh, right here. Let's drink some coffee. I'm feeling parched. All this talking. What do we got going on over here? More admin stuff. Looks kind of boring, but you know what? I just kind of want to take people through this, through the process, through the let's get in, let's dive in. I don't have a lot to hide. I like to share. And it encourages me to, I think about when I go around my apartment or my home office or whatever you want to call it. It's a combined living space, workspace. I think about, oh, I'm going to show people this. Should I clean it up? And yes, I do. So it motivates me to stay clean and organized, which is kind of funny. I love that pour over coffee. So I've got a project going here, and I'll show you in a second where it's coming from. I have all these old paperworks, old files. You could call it pack rat and hoarding. Fortunately, it's not extreme, but I keep things for a long time. And I'm like, I gotta go through this stuff. I've got to just be done with it, organize it, and get rid of what you don't need. So it's been a process. And I'm uncovering a lot of amazing things, like certificate of cremation from my father. There's a few things I want to save from my father's passing just in case things come up later. And a few important documents. Another was his army transcript, etc., etc. And also, I need to apply to the VA, even though I'm way behind on the deadline and may not qualify. Supposedly, since I'm the survivor of a veteran of the United States Army, I'm eligible for benefits because he was poisoned with Agent Orange in the field while he was doing landmine tracking in the jungle of Vietnam. And he got, like many other troops, our troops, U.S. troops they were spraying the foliage, defoliating the jungle with Agent Orange, and a lot of our troops had it land on their backs. And specifically, it made pockmarks on my father's backs and eventually gave him cancer. And the VA admitted to that, and it's a whole process. It's happened to a lot of people. It's not like I'm the only one. Like, oh my God. Well, they made mistakes back then, all right? And now we know. So I'm hoping they don't do that to our troops now. Anyways, other things is like, this is from the Secretary of State, as you can see, Earth Tech Gardens Incorporated. That was my eco-friendly landscaping company. I did very well with it, and I was looking at the pay stubs, and I made a lot more money than I have ever, I think. But it was something that I can't continue to do. It's a long story. So I also like to save that in case things come up later, which they do, which all of a sudden you'll get a state franchise tax board from California will try to nail me for a business that I had 10 years ago, and I'll get a bill for $1,000. I'm like, I don't have a company. Then you have to prove it and all that. So moral of the story, save important documents. You don't need everything. Here's another thing I'm working on, Nutriden. I'm working on being a rep for this company for supplements. They normally only allow physicians and doctors, such as my chiropractor, but I think I might be able to get the distributor to let me sell the products at, well, they'll give it to me at wholesale, basically. I'm trying to create a lot of things that I can add on to these websites that aren't extreme. This is, Sri Guru's Stotra is not going to make sense to you. Basically, it's a hymn to the Guru. These are various hymns in Sanskrit that I practice. Another is, I didn't realize it, but Zenwood already has an EIN, and that's what I had written on the board over here. That saves me $300 and a couple of weeks of waiting for the IRS to respond to. You have to mail in a physical document called an SS4 form to apply for an EIN, which is a taxpayer number ID. But once you got it, I mean, that's basically permanent. You have to actively fill out forms to get rid of it. So I did that like in 2017. Oh my goodness, I totally forgot about it. And I was looking through the paperwork, as we had discussed. That was a project I was working on, and voila. See if I had just dealt with this. Here it is. There's a whole thing of papers. There's a whole second thing of papers. Yeah, I know. This is like 10 years, okay? So some of it gets recycled, some goes in the trash, and then this bag is for the shredder, okay? Some of the documents are sensitive. Up here we got some art stuff happening. We got some empty jars that need to be filled with stuff. Layered jars are sort of my thing. They're really just prototypes. I'll show you one real quick. I've done another video on it. Here we go. So, I just like to stack things in layers. I have not perfected the process, and that's why I call it a prototype. I think I'll have to make like 100 of them before I'll really be satisfied with it. That's just how I go about it. If you're creating products, I think it's important to treat it differently than you know, like just coming up with a craft. You know, if you're gonna resell and reproduce something. An example, and I won't bust it out, but I had a ring created by a friend of mine that is a jeweler in Sonoma, California. And we did a CAD design, which is a little extra, but that means we can duplicate it. But we really put a lot of effort into this. I mean, we put a lot of effort into this. And I think that's what you need to do. If you want to create good products, products that people really will like and that will resell, you need to put the requisite amount of energy into it. Otherwise, it's just cheap. All right, well, I hope that was informative, inspiring, boosting your creativity. We'll always do more in the future, and I absolutely love to share the magic of the home office with others. Namaste.